Glasgow, Scotland's first city, plays host to some of the world's finest riders as they assemble for the Kelloggs Tour of Britain. The Scottish city last welcomed the race in 1989, and now the 5-day journey south starts here. Tomorrow the route penetrates the Lake District for the first time between Carlisle and Blackpool. On Wednesday we're in Bolton and Liverpool. On Thursday it's Chester to Leicester. And on Friday the survivors end the 500-mile race with the stage from Nottingham to Manchester. The field is without doubt the best ever assembled. Sean Yates, Britain's Tour de France leader for a day last month, is here. Vyacheslav Yekimov, winner of America's Tour DuPont. Andrei Schmil, winner of this year's Paris-Roubaix and the World Cup leader. Maurizio Fondries, the World Cup holder. Johan Museeuw, the leader of the Tour de France when it came into Britain. And his teammate, Flavio Vanzella, who took the yellow jersey back to France. Bo Hamburger, the Dane, who won a stage of the Tour de France as well this year. And finally, Malcolm Elliott, 15 wins this year and heading for the Commonwealth Games next week, where he'll ride for England. And this morning in George Street, Glasgow, the riders prepare to move away. 102, a record entry. The Kelloggs Tour in prospect really should be the best we've ever seen. Well, just 4 short weeks ago, many of these riders were here when they were taking part in the Tour de France. And we hope to see many of you out on the route as it unfolds down to Manchester. There were 3 million people officially on the roadside, the police tell us, when the Tour de France came to Britain for 2 days, and you gave us scenes like this. Well, yesterday the cycling programme started here in George Square, the Grand Prix of Glasgow, where all of the riders entertained a crowd of some 4,000. In the end, sprinting clear of the field, the old veteran Dutchman, Adrie van der Poel, a former leader of the Tour de France. He got his first victory of the season. He rides today. And Van der Poel among the field, 17 teams in the lineup, a record entry of 102 as they roll away here now from George Square for a very tough circuit indeed. And alongside me in the commentary box, as always, Paul Sherwin, the former Tour de France rider.
Phil, 129 miles the riders are going to face today, starting out along the banks of Loch Lomond, but I think there'll be a sting in the tail when we get back towards Glasgow. Kippen Hill and Campsie Fell is going to be very tough.
And so also joining us, an old favourite on the Kelloggs Tour.
G'day, they're off and racing in the Kelloggs Tour and it's great to be back again. We hope you'll come and have a look along the side of the road if the race should pass through your area. Bring along a banner and make sure it's a funny one, because we'll be filming them and showing them on TV all week, just like this one.
Well, thanks Alan, and thanks everybody for the banner down on the Tour de France a month ago. The riders now though along the banks of Loch Lomond, and the field already showing signs of stress at the back. We're heading now towards the first sprint town of the day at Luss, and then we go up into the mountains of the lowlands of the central region here of Scotland. The first attack of the day coming from Ben Luckwell, about 6 miles outside of Glasgow, and a long way, Paul, for him if he stays away to the end.
And a very tough final too, as we said earlier. There's some very tough climbs in the last few miles of this race. Ben Luckwell being very brave today, because to stay out with such an exceptional field that we've got this year in the Kelloggs Tour of Britain, it's going to be very hard.
Well, this is the town of Luss, 22.3 miles covered, and the first sprint of the day. There are 3 sprints today, and a nice cheer from the crowd as through it goes Ben Luckwell, the 28-year-old from Bristol. Let's have a look at the weather, Paul.
Excellent racing conditions for the riders today, with a high of 21 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Cloudy spells in the morning, but opening up to the sunshine later on in the afternoon, and absolutely not a breath of wind.
And the bonny banks of Loch Lomond looking very inviting for the riders today, but out front, let's go to Alan Piper now, who's with the leader of this race on the road.
Tactically, this is a great move by Ben Luckwell. Being the first day, nobody has the yellow jersey. Which teams are going to chase? Ben's taken the advantage, attacked in the start, and he's got a great lead. At the moment, he's got 10 minutes, but I think he really needs to have 20 if he's going to have any chance of staying in front until the finish. Maybe we can see an Englishman in yellow tonight. We'll see.
We certainly will, Alan. In fact, Luckwell's lead just over 10 minutes and 10 seconds. This is now the sprint for second place here in Luss, and it's going to be a good one, and the first chance to see that demon sprinter Jan Zerada, who won a stage in the Tour de France, just pipping Mark Walsham there, the British rider, on the line for second place in the sprint. So the first sprint of the day, Luckwell takes it with a lead of 10 minutes. Urada is second and Mark Walsham is third. Well, the riders still have a long way to go, and of course the hills are still to come, Paul. But Alan Piper is right. Luckwell needs a big lead early on.
Well, definitely, as Alan said earlier on, we need 20 minutes, I think, at least, if he's going to try and walk away with the stage at the moment. And there's no reaction as we look down on the main field. They really aren't hotting it up at all yet.
Well, let's go to Alan Piper again. He's now found an old friend and last year's winner, Phil Anderson.
You've won 2 Kelloggs tours. What do you think about a triple?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, you know, you just have to look at our team. It's a very talented team, and you know, Sean Yates and Brian Smith. I think we've got a very strong team here, and any one of us could win. And then, well, it's a very strong field. What can I say?
Well, meanwhile, Luckwell is progressing nicely. We're now in the town of Callander, 76 miles covered, and this man is still out there and looking good. Let's have a look at the time check, Paul. 30 minutes and 15 seconds. It's nosing near that 20-minute margin.
It's getting very dangerous now as we go through the next sprint point here, and Luckwell's going to take that very easily. He's going to notch up some great points in the hotspot sprint competition today.
Well, the sun is peeping through now. This was the order of the sprint at Callander. After Luckwell came Olaf Ludwig, the sole Olympic champion, followed by Maurizio Fondries, last year's World Cup winner. So the big guns are beginning to fire as well. Now, Joey McLaughlin is now a team manager here of the FS Maestro, Luckwell's team. Remember, Joey was the winner of the very first Kellogg's Tour back in 1987. I wonder what he'd say to him there, Paul.
I feel sure he'll be giving him a time check just like the one that's coming through at the moment. In fact, the time is almost halved. The lead, he had 7 minutes and 16 seconds. And to me, it looks like Ben Luckwell is starting to suffer. And the reason is because of the main field here, putting the pressure on. This is Jesper Skibby of the TVM squad, followed by Scott Sunderland, his teammate. And in third place with the pink jersey there, that's Maurizio Fondries.
Well, this is the climb of Kippen Hill, and Skibby has swung off to let Sunderland go through. Around about 87 miles covered here now. And Scott Sunderland, a rider left off the TVM team for this year's Tour de France, he was very unhappy about that. He really thought he deserved a place, and maybe he's come here to try and do something about it. He's now riding very strongly and is opening a gap here. Fondries also working well. Fondries, a man who's lost 4 months in the sport this year with a bad back problem, with slip disc in fact. Fondries now going through and driving hard. A little group going clear, Paul.
In fact, Fondries rode excellently last week in the Tour of Burgos, one of the first races he'd ridden back since that injury when he had an operation there. And it looks to me as if the pressure here is forcing a group of 5 riders clear. There are 5 riders, you can see the main field behind starting to zigzag a little bit across the road, and this group may well go clear.
Well, we've got here the front Fondries, followed by Sunderland. I think it's Vyacheslav Yekimov, here it is, going through in third place. And the Motorola rider there is Steven Swart, and Gonchenkov, the Ukrainian rider and teammate of Fondries, who's got on. This is Luckwell further up the climb. In fact, the white flag there indicating he's going to be first to the top here of Kippen Hill. The gap is still coming down, 6 minutes 15 seconds. But Luckwell, you know, might be a little bit lucky here, if you'll excuse the pun, because he could jump onto a train that may well catch him in the next 10 miles or so. Steven Swart completed his first Tour de France of 2 this year. And then Fondries, I'm sure, delighted to be back in the thick of the action.
I think he's probably delighted to be back racing, because many people thought that operation that he had would put him out of cycling for good, and here he is back at the top of international cycling. But this is a dangerous man to let too far in the front. Vyacheslav Ekimov, especially with that time trial in a couple of days' time.
So Fondries is coming up now towards the top of Kippen Hill here, and Scott Sunderland is anxious to go and sprint for the King of the Mountain points as well, and he goes clear. Well, we've already seen Luckwell over the top. Sunderland's going to get second place, Fondries third, and in fact there are 2 more riders trying to latch on at the back. Well, we wouldn't want to disturb this gentleman's day out either, as the riders now head off towards Glasgow. This is the result of the climb. Luckwell wins, but his time gap is coming down. Sunderland, Fondries, Yekimov and Swart follow in that order, and the group has now been joined by others. Alan.
Skippy was forcing the pace on Kippen Hill. Sunderland, his teammate, wanted to win the sprint at the top. The bunch was split behind, and Fondries, the former world champion, was able to go with him. His teammate Bortolami's in there. There's 1 Motorola rider, and I think this is the group that will go to the finish line. But let's see what happens on the final hill.
Well, thanks, Alan. In fact, it's not Bortolami. As we now know, it's Gonchenkov, who's the other teammate here of the Lamprey rider Maurizio Fondriest, but this is a tremendous breakaway group with a number of the top teams represented. Now there is the lone figure of Ben Luckwell, who started the action today, and it's tumbling now, 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Well, he really needs to keep the pressure on, because if he can just get over the top of the next climb of Campsie Fell, then he can possibly go to the finish with this group of riders, because they're going extremely well at the moment. But it's a dangerous move, as I've said, with Yaroslav Ekimov in there and the time trial coming up. These riders at the moment seem to be working extremely well together. This is Scott Sunderland at the front.
And just look at the face here of Maurizio Fondriest. The danger man in this group for me is Yaroslav Ekimov, winner of the Tour du Pont this year. We're now halfway up Campsie Fell. This is the big climb of the day, and a nice smattering of people enjoying what is a really lovely midsummer's afternoon here. Cheering now Ben Luckwell, his lead now 1 minute and 15 seconds, so it's only a matter of time before they do come up to him. He's not a great climber, Ben Luckwell, but he really is a very, very plucky rider today. There's the chasing group, and the rider at the back here is Saligari, being spoken to by his team manager. They're ahead of the main field now, Paul, by 1 minute and 25 seconds, so the elastic has snapped here.
It really has. This is Marco Saligari at the back, just cleaning his glasses. We've got Yaroslav Ekimov in here, Maurizio Fondriest. The only chance, I think, of this group being caught is if the Telecom team start to chase.
But look at this, Paul. The top of the climb is over that ridge, and Ben Luckwell now clearly has taken a packet here because the group is on him. They've closed down dramatically quickly on this climb. They just come straight up to him. They've got the man they wanted, but of course their intention now is much more long-term. There's something like 35 miles to go to the finish, and it is possible now they will stay away. Well, Luckwell, I wonder what he's going to do. He's going to have to try and hang on. That's what he'll have to do.
He's got to really try and get over the top of this climb and stay with the group, because this group is working extremely well. You can see every rider is going through and off, doing his turn at the front to keep the pace high as we head to the top of Campsie Fell here. The move is already extending its lead.
Well, there goes Stephen Swart. He's going for the King of the Mountains points now. Luckwell tried to go across, and in fact Luckwell went at the same time. A little clash of shoulders there. It may have spoiled the rhythm of Swart, but I think you know that Luckwell may have got third place on the climb despite being captured by that. And I suspect now that if he has, then he's going to be the leader of the King of the Mountains tonight. Verdonk won the sprint, Sunderland second, Luckwell was third, Swart fourth, and Fondriest fifth. So I think that's enough to give Ben Luckwell now the King of the Mountains. There we are, 24 points, 3 points better overall than Scott Sunderland, and in third place, Maurizio Fondriest. So the field now commencing their descent. The hills are behind them, but my goodness me, there's still a lot of racing to be done. We'll take a break. And welcome back to day one of the Kelloggs Tour of Britain, and the crowd here being entertained in George Square in Glasgow by the Strathclyde Police Band. I can tell you too, the Strathclyde Police today have done a marvellous job in guiding the riders in the Tour of Britain towards the city centre where they started from about 5 hours ago. This is the leading group of 7 riders, and gone now, I have to say, is Ben Luckwell, the hero of the first 4 hours of racing. Let's join now Alan Piper with the lead.
The lead of the front group is coming down. The teams of Gan and Telecom are chasing behind. Only 20 kilometres to go. Can they get back to this front group? Fondriest is looking for the stage win. Ekimov as well. The former World Pursuit champion is known for his fast breakaways in the finishing kilometres. Let's see if he can do it today.
And I wonder indeed if he can, Alan, because the breakaway is slowly being brought back by a hard-working group here, Paul.
I'm very surprised to see the GAN team working up here, but not this jersey here of the Telecom team, the pink and white team. We've seen them so often in the Tour de France coming to the front to try and prepare the sprint for Olaf Ludwig, one of the fastest men in the world, but unfortunately not a stage winner in this year's Tour de France. They're doing a great job, and they're really eating into that lead at the moment.
Well, I really feel as though that breakaway group with so many class riders up there really did think they had this race sewn up today. But you know, the chase down has been fast and furious. We're seeing the Telecom here do exactly what they did on many, many stages of this year's Tour de France. The Telecom team chase on, but we're now entering the centre of Glasgow here. for the circuits of the city centre, and this breakaway is still clear. What a shame that Luckwell, on a very small climb, just simply could not hang on any longer. He's not just been dropped by this group now, he's also been passed by the whole of the main field, and they're coming through towards the finishing line here, where they have something like 2.5 laps of the city.
That's 3.8 miles round that circuit. It's a very tough circuit actually, because of very long straightaways, and once they get into the city centres here, the main field behind will have them in their sights all the time. Everybody's still working extremely well at the moment. This is Maurizio Fondries in the blue helmet, just having a quick word with his teammate.
Well, back to the peloton, and they're closing down all of the time, and the chasing being done by Rolf Aldag now at the front, and the GAN team again. Incidentally, Chris Bourbon, who did so well on the GAN team and for Britain in the Tour de France, not here on the team this week because he's preparing. 1 week today he will go for the World Pursuit title in Sicily, and obviously can't ride this event. That's a shame for us indeed, but my goodness me, the GAN team have made a big mistake today and are now trying to put it to rights. These are the leaders. The time is still coming down, 1 minute and 15 seconds, and Scott Sunderland trying to keep the rhythm going.
He's putting the pressure on at the front, and the gap really has tumbled over the last couple of miles, and I'm very surprised because I thought that this break was the leader of the race. I'm quite convinced, in fact, that they were going to go with overall victory.
Well, Vyacheslav Yekimov, we felt even before this race started he was a pre-race favourite, but they're coming back, and we've got Christian Hen again driving on, a rider that scored a medal in the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games. But just the two teams, Paul, because so many riders are represented, or teams rather, in that leading group. Very, very narrow here. This is the most difficult part of the circuit, the riders being closed right down by the coning system. And I have to say that the police here in the city of Glasgow have done a marvellous job in closing down this centre. Let's go back up to the leaders. They're coming round. It's very tight. In fact, that's Scott Sunderland who's gone outside the cones.
That was very unfortunate. In fact, it looks to me as if that's Ben Luckwell going the other way. Ben Luckwell, who's been dropped by the main pack, and Sunderland flicks back through the cones there, but that must have been a very scary moment for both of those riders, and the gap is always coming down.
Well, if there was ever going to be a problem today, that was the point, and we're safely through it, and still the GAN team are chasing. They're getting all of the riders up here to the front now. This is Francois Le Marchand, who's trying to close this race down, and Paul, they are closing it down inch by inch. You know, it could still come together.
It's coming down very rapidly. I'm sure that Olaf Ludwig would be a very nervous man at the moment. I'm so surprised to see the GAN team doing this at the moment. They haven't really got a sprinter in the race. They may be thinking about the time trial because Pascal Lans is a great finisher. They're coming up to the sprint now. This looks to me very much like Ekimov. We've got 1 minute lead over the main pack, and Ekimov's going to take 3 seconds bonus quite easily as he goes over the line. It looks as if Steven Swart came in second.
It could prove crucial. A 3-second bonus for Yekimov, Swart second, Gonchenkov is third. So the overall situation at the end of the day, a jersey tomorrow for Ben Luckwell certainly, ahead overall of Yekimov and Jan Zarada. Now here comes the peloton, first time through, and the gap is closing down all of the time, and still the GAN team are applying the pressure. And now, Paul, all of the teammates of the men up front have been washed away by these two teams, Telecom of Germany and GAN of France.
They're doing a great job at the moment. This is Rudy Verdonk, the Lotto rider. We haven't seen a great deal of him so far, and it's still coming down. It's 55 seconds at the moment.
It's close. It's close. I mean, Rudy Verdonk on the right there rode here last time. He was second overall in the 1991 Kelloggs Tour of Britain, and that was behind Phil Anderson, and now he's in the breakaway here. Swart swings off. He's a teammate of Phil Anderson, by the way. Yekimov comes through. What a marvellous performance that young man did when he rode the Tour du Pont. And now the continual chase down, and it's Hen, that strongman we saw so often chase the breaks down in the Tour de France. He's there again.
They really are putting the pressure on. You can see the field is in a long straight line down the road here. Gaps are starting to appear. This is Olaf Ludwig with the silver helmet there. He's the man who wants to take the stage victory if his team can just bring it all back together in the closing miles. What a great job this field is doing at the moment.
And it's good to see Gary Coltman there, the rally squad, also mixing it at the front now with riders he very, very rarely races against. Let's the latest time check. It's still, oh my goodness me, it's 30 seconds now. They could well be caught on the final 3.8 mile circuit.
It really could go down to the last kilometre at the moment. They really are storming behind. This is Steven Swart at the front, Australian there behind Scott Sunderland. Sunderland would really like to go for the victory today, but let's not forget that Maurizio Fondries has got a teammate there in Gonchenkov.
So the breakaway are holding now a very, very tenuous advantage Remember that Luckwell was swept away. He's been dropped indeed, and I think somebody just peeled off the back there, Paul.
I think that was Rudy Verdonk of the Lotto squad. I saw his arm go up. It may well he's got a problem. It may well be that he just wants to get some information. In fact, he's pointing to the back wheel.
It's flat.
And that's a back wheel puncture.
The back tyre is flat, and that is terrible. You do all of that work and you ride so well, and a puncture has taken Verdonk out of the showdown. He's being passed by the main field, who are continuing now to be led here by British Telecom, by the French, German Telecom, I beg your pardon, as they go around the circuit here. The Telecom team have been absolutely magnificent. They brought this lead down from over 3.5 minutes.
The time check comes through now. It's 23 seconds, so it's going to be very crucial, Phil. The next few kilometres will tell us whether or not they're going to do enough to get back up to this group of 6 riders now, because there are only 6 men left. We've lost Rudy Verdonk with that puncture there, and now is the time when these riders are starting to think a little bit about stage victory, and these men here also. This is Rolf Aldog from the Telecom squad putting the pressure on, followed there by Max Chiandri.
But they can see now, they can see the leaders ahead of them on these long straight roads. And this is the finish. They've never caught them as they go for the line, and now Gonchenko was the man that led out his teammates, and Fondries is going to hang on for the victory. He takes it on the line. Maurizio Fondries gets his first victory as he comes back from injury. Look at the battle though for the next places. Jan Zerada, the teammate of Fondries, is being washed away from it, and Johan Museo is coming on the right. The big sprinter Museo takes it ahead of Phil Anderson, last year's winner, so he stays in the fight. Anderson taking a good finish there in the main field. This is the result of the opening stage. Fondries gets his first victory this year. Sunderland is in second place. Ekimov is third. Saligori is in fourth place. And Luckwell in 98th place, 11 minutes down. So a very happy winner indeed today, Maurizio Fondries, who last won in Manchester, by the way, a few years ago. He now leads overall. Vladislav Ekimov by 4 seconds, Scott Sunderland by 5, and Gonchenko, his teammate, is fourth, 10 seconds back. And what about some of the other big names, ones we know better perhaps? Brian Smith, the British champion, 28 seconds back, along with Sean Yates and Malcolm Elliott and Martin Early. Declan Lonergan was the last man on the race today, 102nd position. The smiling face of Maurizio Fondries, the first leader of the race. Now let's go to Paul Sherwin with Ben Luckwell.
Ben, that was a pretty brave move today, 100 miles in the front. Were you beginning to believe that you could actually pull it off?
I started to believe with about just before the second from last climb that I may have had a chance, because Jerry McLaughlin, the team manager, came up and said I had 13 minutes. But then I got to the stop of the second from last climb, and he told me I had 7 minutes, so then I started to get my doubts.
Well, they caught you at the top of the second very hard climb. Then did you think you had a chance of staying with the group because they were going to stay away till the finish?
To be honest, I was not that hopeful, because on the last climb my legs started to blow out a little bit, so I was fairly doubtful, but I was hoping it was going to be slightly flatter the running than what it actually was.
It was a tough finish, and it was a hard start for you for the Kelloggs Tour this year.
It was a hard start, but I set out what I wanted to do. I planned to go away early today and try and get into a solo or a break with a couple of other riders and try and either take the Sprints jersey or the Mountains jersey, so it's worked out well. Chris Young did a similar move a couple of years ago, so I thought I'd try and chance my hand and see how it went.
So from here on, you're going to try and keep hold of at least one of those jerseys?
I'll try my best, see how it goes.
Well, tomorrow Ben Luckwell will have to defend his lead in the King of the Mountains as we climb the Kirkstone Pass for the very first time in the history of the Tour of Britain. Yes, we go into the heart of the Lake District. It's 113.2 miles, taking the riders away from Carlisle and down to Blackpool. Keep coming out, bring those banners and support the riders all the way to its finish in Manchester on Friday. And if you can't, well, join us in our programme tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Till then, goodbye.